Stop right there. Whatever you are carrying in this moment, set it down for a breath and listen to me with your full heart. Something has been moving around you, and you have felt it in ways you could not explain. You have been carrying a quiet pressure that no one around you seems to notice. You keep showing up, keep answering, keep enduring, and still there is a hidden ache inside you that does not go away just because you are being strong. You can smile, you can serve, you can keep your face steady, but underneath all of that there is a place in you that has been asking the same question again and again. Why does it feel like I am standing at the edge of a door that will not open? Tonight, you are going to hear why. Tonight, you are going to recognize the signs that have been following you, the pattern underneath them, and the deeper reason this season has felt so heavy and so holy at the same time. Stay with me, because by the end of this message, you will understand what has been happening, what it means, and why the opening you have been waiting for is not as impossible as it has looked. By the time we close, you are going to recognize the strange signs that have been repeating in your life and what they are actually confirming. You are going to see the one pattern that has kept you tightening your grip in the wrong places. You are going to feel why this message found you tonight and why it would not leave you alone. This is not random. This is not a lucky accident. This is an appointment, and you have already been arriving in it for longer than you realized. There has been something happening to you that you have not fully named yet. You have felt it in the quiet hours, in the pauses between ordinary tasks, in the way certain moments now feel charged when they used to feel neutral. You wake at the same hour again and again, and it does not feel like coincidence anymore. You open your eyes, and there is that stillness, that weightless alertness, as if your spirit has been summoned before your mind is ready to explain why. You lie there and feel the distance between who you were and who you are becoming. You have also noticed the waves. One moment you are steady, and the next you are flooded with emotion that does not match the room you are in. There is no obvious attention. You need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment. Reason for the tears, no obvious reason for the ache, no obvious reason for that sudden longing that rises from someplace older than the conversation you are having. You call it tiredness because you do not yet have a better word. And then there are the old conversations, the ones that used to hold your attention because they belonged to a former version of you. They now feel thin in your hands. The voices around you still speak, but something in you has grown too honest to keep pretending that empty words still nourish you. You hear them, but you do not enter them the same way anymore. You have seen the numbers. You have seen the repeated timing, the repeated patterns, the repeated confirmations in places that have no reason to agree with one another. A receipt, a clock, a license plate, a page, a message, a random glance that catches you and holds you too long. It is as if your life keeps underlining itself. And because you are human, you have probably wondered whether all of this means you are becoming unsettled, distracted, or too sensitive. But I am here to tell you that the signs are not accusing you. They are confirming you. The waking hour is not punishing you. It is inviting you. The emotional waves are not proof that you are losing your balance. They are proof that something in you is being calibrated to a different weight of truth. The distance from what once satisfied you is not emptiness. It is alignment. Take a breath with me. Let that settle where the tension has been living. If even one of those things just landed in you, if your shoulders dropped at any point in these last moments because you recognized yourself, type the number 888 in the comments. 888 is the sound of overflow, the sign that what has been closed is not the end of your story. Type 888, then come right back to me. But there is something beneath these signs. There is a deeper reason the same patterns have been circling you, and once you see it, you will stop calling yourself confused and start recognizing yourself as burdened by a pattern that was never yours to carry forever. Beneath those signs is one single pattern, and it is this. You have been trying to force movement through places that are asking for surrender. You have been pressing harder on doors that do not open by pressure. You have been mistaking strain for faithfulness, as if the only proof of devotion is exhaustion. You have been carrying the honest hunger in your life as though hunger itself were the strategy. That is why your life has felt like effort meeting silence. That is why you keep doing the right things with the wrong inner posture. You are not lazy, you are not broken, you are not failing at being spiritual. You are operating from a reflex that taught you to keep pulling, even when the rope has gone slack. You learned to live as if urgency were wisdom. You learned to believe that if you could just try a little harder, pray a little longer, explain yourself a little better, or become a little more impressive, then what has been blocked would finally give way. But the pattern does not bend to force. It only exposes how long you have been carrying the wrong weight. And this pattern has shown itself in many places. It has shown itself in relationships where you kept over-explaining yourself to people who had already decided not to hear you fully. It has shown itself in work where you kept proving your worth long after your worth should have been obvious. It has shown itself in your private prayers, where you have sometimes sounded less like a child resting in love and more like someone knocking on a closed gate with blistered hands. The cost of this pattern is quiet, but it is real. It makes you tired in a way sleep does not fix. It makes you second-guess the very things you were once certain about. It makes you narrow your own expectations just to survive disappointment. And worst of all, it trains you to call this state normal. But it was never normal. It was just familiar. And familiar is not the same thing as true. You have been living inside a posture that says, I must keep forcing this, or I will lose what I need. Yet what you truly need has never been asking to be forced. What you need has been waiting for a deeper release. Stay with me, because there is a layer beneath this one, and it is the layer where the impossible begins to look different. Imagine a courtyard that belongs to a house you have always loved but never fully entered. The courtyard has stone underfoot, old walls around it, and a gate that once stood open. In your earliest memory of it, the light was clean there. The air moved freely. You did not have to prove you belonged. You simply did. That place is still yours, even if you have spent years living outside it. But at some point, the gate did not close all at once. It narrowed little by little. First, it was a voice telling you to be quieter. Then it was a moment when your tenderness was misunderstood. Then it was an atmosphere in which your instinct to trust was answered with caution, distance, or disappointment. Little by little, the open courtyard became a place you could see only from the outside. So you adapted. You learned to stand straighter. You learned to watch first and feel later. You learned to pull yourself together before you were allowed to be moved. You learned to survive the narrowness by becoming smaller inside it. That was not weakness. That was adaptation. But the courtyard was never meant to remain closed to you. The gate was never meant to become your permanent horizon. What happened to you long ago did not erase the house. It only taught you to live as though the gate were the limit of your inheritance. And because that gate stayed closed for so long, your own voice began to dim in echo with it, not disappear. Dim, the way a lamp still burns behind thick glass, the way a song still exists when it is played far away, the way a child still remembers a melody even after the room goes quiet. This is why you sometimes feel as though your own knowing is farther from you than it should be. This is why there are moments when your answer arrives slowly, as if it has to travel through old weather before reaching your mouth. The truth is still there. It has just been walking through a long corridor of survival. Yet the courtyard has not forgotten you. That is the mercy in all of this. The walls remember your name. The floor remembers your steps. The gate remembers what it was made to do. And tonight, something in that old place is beginning to move again. You do not need to force the gate. You do not need to break the walls. You do not need to prove to the courtyard that you deserve to enter what was always your own. What you need is to remember that the silence was never the same as rejection. Sometimes the silence is only the space before return. Let that land in you. If the image of that courtyard, that gate, that old place you still belong to, has settled somewhere deep inside you, type the words, "I see it," in the comments. I see it is the recognition that the place is yours even before you have walked all the way back into it. Type it, then come right back to me. Because when you see that, you begin to understand the return. You begin to understand that the answer is not a list of things you must do to become worthy again. The answer is the slow, holy return of what was dimmed to what was always waiting. You do not have to earn your way back into the courtyard. You do not have to negotiate with your own life as though your value were still uncertain. You do not have to keep performing for the gate. The gate is not your judge. It is your passage. What returns now is not pressure. What returns now is permission. You are being invited to stop treating every closed feeling as a command to strive harder. Some of what you have been carrying was never yours to solve by force. It was yours to notice, to lay down, and to let God meet with a hand that does not shame you for being tired. That is why the next step is not loud. It is simple. When you wake at that hour, do not immediately condemn the moment. Sit still and breathe before you interpret it. Call it a watchful hour, not a cursed one. When the old emotions rise without explanation, do not panic. Name them as evidence that your inner life is becoming less numb and more honest. When the old conversations feel hollow, do not rush back into them just to avoid the quiet. Let the quiet teach you what is no longer feeding you. There is also a practice I want to place in your hands tonight, and I will call it the morning threshold. Before you step into the day, pause for a few seconds and say nothing. Do not ask for 10 answers at once. Just stand at the doorway of the morning and receive that you are not entering it alone. Let the first breath be a receiving, not a reaching. Let the first movement be a listening, not a proving. And there is another practice, one I call the returning glance. When you notice yourself gripping too tightly, whether in thought, in planning, in grief, or in control, soften your shoulders and look inward long enough to ask a single question. What am I trying to force that is meant to open? You are not asking to shame yourself. You are asking to unhook yourself from effort that has outlived its purpose. These are not burdens. They are anchors. They are not homework. They are ways of remembering that what is holy in you does not need to be driven back to life. It needs to be trusted back into motion. Because the truth is, you are not being asked to become someone else. You are being asked to return to the one who was always there before the pressure taught you to narrow, the one who still knows how to stand in the courtyard without begging for entrance, the one who still hears the door before it opens, the one who does not need to chase what is already being prepared. Let that settle. If something in this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your amen without words, not as a metric. As an agreement that what was named here was named correctly, be still with that for a moment. Let the recognition become a place inside you instead of a passing thought. There is also someone in your life who came to mind while I was speaking. You saw a face or a presence or a soul you have been carrying in prayer. It may be someone quietly tired, someone secretly seeking, someone holding a posture nobody sees. It may be someone who keeps smiling while their own gate feels closed. Send this to them, not as a recommendation, as a delivery, because what reached you was not meant to stop with you. It was meant to move through you the way mercy does, by appointment, with precision, with tenderness, with timing that does not waste itself. Before this closes, type the words, "I am chosen," in the comments. Not as a wish, not as a hope, as a confirmation. Let your fingers say what your spirit is finally allowing itself to remember. Let the seal form while you are still inside the hearing of it. Pause with me for a breath. Let that identity rest where the pressure used to live. Let it be quiet, let it be true. You are confirmed. You are gathered back from the scattered places. You are not abandoned in the narrow gate. You are being led home by a mercy that does not miss your address. You are restored in your seeing. You are strengthened in your hearing. You are steadied in your steps. You are held in the place where you have felt most unsure. You are not too late. You are not forgotten. You are not outside the reach of what has been prepared for you. Right now, all across the world, there are others receiving the same recognition in their own way. Some are waking at the same hour and finally understanding why. Some are feeling the old pull loosen in their hands. Some are realizing that the gate they feared had already begun to open. You are part of something that does not make noise to prove itself. And that is exactly why it is real. You are not alone in this hearing. You are not the only one standing at the threshold and feeling the air change. What has been spoken here is moving farther than this room, farther than this moment, farther than the fear that tried to name your season. It is reaching the ones who are ready to hear it. It is sealed. The seal you just heard does not close the movement. It completes the crossing. What has been spoken over you tonight is not fading with the last sentence. It is settling into the deeper place where your fear used to speak first, and where your spirit is now learning to answer before the old pattern can rise again. You have spent too long believing that certain openings must feel dramatic to be real. You have been trained by disappointment to wait for fireworks, for unmistakable signs, for some loud event that would force your soul to admit that everything has changed. But the quiet way this message reached you is itself part of the mercy. The door does not always arrive with noise. Sometimes it arrives with recognition. Sometimes it arrives with peace that feels too steady to be self-made. Sometimes it arrives by meeting you in the exact place where your heart was almost giving up. That is what has happened here. Not a performance, not a distraction, a meeting. And because it is a meeting, you do not leave it the same way you entered it. The part of you that was bracing for another delay has heard enough to begin unclenching. The part of you that has been waiting for permission has heard enough to begin breathing again. The part of you that kept asking whether your life was ever going to open has now received a different question altogether. What if the opening has already started, and you simply have not yet trusted how gently it began? There is a holy restraint in that gentleness. It does not rush you. It does not embarrass you. It does not demand that you pretend you have always understood what was happening. It only asks that you remain honest long enough to notice the shift. And the shift is here. You are not being pushed into a future that will erase you. You are being led into a future that knows your name. That means you do not have to abandon your tenderness to enter what is next. You do not have to become harder, louder, colder, or more self-sufficient in order to be carried through the opening. The very softness you thought disqualified you may be the place where grace keeps finding room to work. This is why the old battle inside you has felt so exhausting. It was never only about circumstance. It was about whether you could keep trusting life when life seemed to answer slowly. It was about whether you could remain open when openness had once cost you something. It was about whether you could keep your heart intact while standing in a season that kept asking for more than it seemed to give. But you are not the same person who first entered that season. The one who began it was sincere, but the one who is standing here now has been refined by waiting, sharpened by silence, and made wiser by the things that did not unfold on your timetable. That is not a small thing. That is how depth is built. That is how discernment is formed. That is how your inner world learns not to confuse delay with denial. So do not insult what has been formed in you by treating it like wasted time. Do not call your own endurance meaningless just because the outer result has not yet arrived in full view. The unseen work has been real. The hidden rearrangement has been real. The stripping away of what could not travel with you has been real. And now the room is different. You may not be able to explain it to anyone else, and you do not need to. Some openings are too intimate to be argued with. Some mercies are too precise to be translated into ordinary language. You will know them by the way they change the posture of your soul. You will know them by the way you stop reaching as violently. You will know them by the way the old panic loses some of its authority. You will know them by the way you start recognizing what is truly yours without having to fight every shadow for it. That is why I want to speak this over you one more time. You are not being asked to earn the next part of your life. You are being asked to receive it without contempt, receive it without shrinking, receive it without arguing with the goodness that is trying to find you. There are still questions in you, and that is all right. There may still be edges that have not softened yet. There may still be a place in your chest that remembers the cost of hoping. But hope is not foolish when it is purified. Hope becomes wise when it stops demanding proof before it allows peace. Hope becomes strong when it can stand in the middle of uncertainty and still say, I am here, I am willing, I am open to what is being given. That is your posture now. Not forcing, not fleeing, not performing certainty you do not yet feel. Simply standing where you are and allowing the deeper truth to gather you. And if today has felt especially heavy, if the atmosphere around you has felt dense, if your private thoughts have been more intense than you wanted to admit, I want you to know that heaviness does not cancel opening. In fact, sometimes the weight you feel is what makes the release so unmistakable when it comes. The pressure is not proof that you are abandoned. It is often the last resistance before surrender. So when you feel yourself tempted to read this season through the language of loss, pause. When you feel the old reflex telling you that if something has not happened by now, it never will, pause. When you feel the familiar urge to measure your life by what is visible only, pause. There is more happening than the eye can verify at once. The deeper opening is already at work in the unseen places. It is rearranging assumptions. It is loosening false conclusions. It is returning dignity to places where shame once built a home. It is teaching your nervous heart that not every delay means danger. It is teaching your spirit that not every silence means absence. And this matters because the life ahead of you will require a different kind of seeing. It will require you to notice what is true before it becomes obvious. It will require you to trust the quiet first. It will require you to receive before you are fully able to explain. It will require you to stop calling yourself behind just because you are being led through a path that does not look like the path of others. You are not behind. You are being prepared in a way that fits the life that is waiting for you. That life is not built on frantic proving. It is built on steady alignment. It is built on inward agreement. It is built on the kind of peace that can sit in a room and know that the door will open in its time because the opening is already alive in the unseen. So let this be the last word your heart uses tonight. You are allowed to rest inside the opening before you can fully describe it. You are allowed to feel the mercy before you can map it. You are allowed to trust the process while still carrying some questions. You are allowed to be in between and still be held. And the reason I can say that with quiet confidence is because the one who began this work in you has not lost sight of where you are standing now. You have not slipped out of the line of grace. You have not wandered beyond the reach of the hand that has been guiding you in ways you did not recognize at first. So breathe. Let the old tension loosen. Let the impossible become a little less rigid in your mind. Let your soul remember that openings do not always announce themselves with thunder. Sometimes they arrive as a peaceful conviction that what looked blocked is already being touched from the other side. That is what this moment is. That is what this word is. And that is why you can leave this hearing without fear that it ends here. It does not end here. It keeps unfolding in the places where you live, in the choices you make, in the way you stop fighting what is already moving toward you, in the way you begin to walk as though the closed thing is not your final reality. Walk gently from here. Hold your heart with reverence. Keep your eyes open for the quiet evidence of mercy. Keep your hands open for what can finally be received. Keep your spirit open to the kind of opening that does not need to shout in order to be true. You are being led, you are being kept, you are being answered, and what seemed impossible is already changing shape. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you. And strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.